When the police stepped over the threshold of the home, they were struck by a horrific scene. They had never witnessed such horror before. The unbearable stench permeated the room. The girl's body had sunk so deeply into the couch that it was decaying to the bone while she was still alive. Lacey Ellen Fletcher, born in 1985 in the small town of Slaughter, Louisiana, had endured considerable suffering. This town, home to just 1,000 residents, is located near Baton Rouge. In such small towns, nothing usually happens, but this tragedy brought Slaughter into the spotlight, albeit for all the wrong reasons. Lacey was the only daughter of Sheila and Clay Fletcher. From a young age, she had been diagnosed with autism and experienced the world differently than other children. Her difficulties with concentration and communication with peers grew over time. She faced challenges during her schooling and had very few friends. Despite this, Lacey was always a kind, cheerful, and friendly girl. She was passionate about sports and participated in activities near her home. Her parents, Sheila and Clay, were respected members of the local community. Her mother had worked as a prosecutor's assistant and later as an assistant to the mayor, while her father served in a charitable organization. They were religious individuals, and no one could have imagined that their family would endure such a horrific tragedy. In the early hours of January 3, 2022, at 2:30 a.m., Sheila called emergency services, reporting that her daughter was not breathing. Upon arrival, police officers and paramedics witnessed a shocking sight. The lifeless body of Lacey was found on a leather couch, virtually without any clothing. Her body had sunk into the couch, becoming surrounded by her own excrement and urine, infested with larvae and beetles. Numerous red spots and sores were visible on her body. The flesh had rotted down to the bone, leading to decomposition. The girl lay on her left side, her right arm positioned near her neck, her eyes and mouth wide open, and her legs crossed beneath her. The stench was so repulsive that it was difficult to endure the sight. According to the county coroner, this case became the worst in his career. He struggled to find peace afterward. The father appeared completely soulless, showing no emotions whatsoever. The mother, however, tried to project an image of a grieving woman, weeping for her daughter. The couch was placed against the wall, with a gray dresser to the right, neatly stacked with clothing. In front of the couch was a small black table cluttered with lotion bottles, talcum powder, wet wipes, nasal spray, and other items. Next to the couch was a box of DVDs that Lacey likely watched. There were also signs of rodent droppings. The first question that arose was why the parents allowed such a situation to develop. How could people who were considered upstanding ignore the needs of their own daughter? It was hard to imagine how they could live in such unsanitary conditions. The girl was so emaciated that she weighed only 30 kilograms at the age of 36. An autopsy revealed that Lacey had not gotten off the couch for about 12 years and had been living in horrific conditions, resulting in her skin on her back and buttocks turning black. Although she tested positive for COVID, that was not the cause of death. The pathologist determined that the primary cause of death was severe medical neglect, leading to malnutrition, starvation, immobility, acute ulcer formation, and osteomyelitis. A purulent necrotic process in the bones led to sepsis. The pathologist classified the girl's death as homicide, indicating that she died 24 to 48 hours before the call to 911. The parents claimed that a few days before her death, they went on a weekend trip, and upon returning, they found their daughter's body. They explained that Lacey's autism had worsened, and after 9th grade, she developed Asperger's syndrome, which led them to isolate her. Since then, she had been homeschooled. She had fallen off the community's radar, and neighbors hadn't seen her for 15 years. Some new neighbors were even unaware that they had a daughter. The parents explained to acquaintances who inquired about Lacey that their child was ill and could not leave the house, as if she had a condition similar to locked-in syndrome, a rare and serious neurological disorder that causes paralysis of all muscles except those controlling eye movements. Such patients are completely bedridden and require care, while being able to understand their surroundings and communicate through eye movements. However, there was no diagnosis in Lacey's medical records, and it was unknown who had provided it. The last time the girl visited a doctor was at 16 when she was still in school. She only complained of anxiety, and her diagnosis remained autism. Why she became paralyzed remained a mystery. The family led a secluded lifestyle, not communicating with neighbors who hadn't visited for many years, so no one knew what was happening with Lacey. After her death, the mother posted on her social media page, "Mom and Dad love you so much." On May 2nd, 2022, 64-year-old Sheila and 65-year-old Clay Fletcher were arrested and charged with second-degree murder. Lacey's parents, who did not plead guilty, claimed that their daughter was an adult and could make her own decisions. They insisted that they could not control her desire to stay at home, live on the couch, and avoid going outside. According to the Fletchers, Lacey preferred to use a towel that was next to the couch instead of using the bathroom, and they only cleaned up after her. In their view, Lacey never complained about her health, so they did not see a need for medical intervention. The mother claimed she took care of her skin sores. However, their words seemed extremely dubious. The girl was emaciated, suffering from starvation and sepsis. The parents had previously claimed that Lacey was paralyzed, but later insisted that she had chosen this way of life on the couch. This horrific condition lasted 12 years, yet they did nothing to help their daughter. And now they were trying to convince everyone that Lacey did not need medical assistance. The girl's death occurred while her parents were on vacation, which raised additional suspicions. No one had seen any attempts to seek medical help for Lacey. It was only 2 days after their arrest, on May 4th, 2022, that the Fletchers were released on bail set at $300,000 for each of them, which sparked public outrage. The district attorney explained that given their lack of criminal records and low flight risk, the court allowed them to await trial free. Sheila and Clay attempted to portray themselves as parents who deeply mourned the loss of their daughter. However, the community did not believe in their sincerity. Local residents were shocked by the story and outraged by how indifferent the parents appeared toward Lacey's life. The couple's attorney issued a statement expressing their desire to avoid reliving the pain of loss through the media, so they did not grant interviews. They claimed to have endured much emotional suffering. However, the question of whether such a comparison with other parents who lost their children was appropriate remained open. Lacey's parents could have helped their daughter if they hadn't refused to seek medical assistance, indicating their indifference. The prosecutor, calling the girl's death a homicide, called for an investigation, pointing to her death resulting from severe negligence. The question of how to classify the case was still being considered, whether it was manslaughter, negligent homicide, or second-degree murder. According to the law, manslaughter carries a penalty of up to 40 years, while second-degree murder results in life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The prosecutor stated that he would insist on the charge of second-degree murder since the parents had failed in their duties. Lacey, being their daughter, deserved care and assistance. The prosecutor noted that the treatment of animals is often prioritized, as if an animal were in such a situation, it would be taken to a veterinarian immediately. Unfortunately, in Lacey's case, this did not happen. The trial in this case is ongoing. This tragic story of parenthood, which ended in unspeakable loss, reminds us of the responsibility that parents have toward their children. It calls into question how important it is to be attentive to the needs of those close to us and not to turn a blind eye to what is happening around us. The negligence and indifference displayed in this situation led to horrifying consequences, urging us to reflect on our role in the lives of those who need our help. In our daily lives, it is essential not just to be present, but to actively care for those we love. Let us remember that even the smallest action can be life-saving. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, where I share even more detective stories uncovered by me. Your thoughts matter, so please leave your comments about this story, as I always welcome your input.